Should you start looking at homes to buy before your house is listed for sale? This is a question that I have dealt with for the past 20 years. And by the way, we've dealt with very successfully. I know it's a stressful situation when you're like, man, I've got to sell my house before I purchase another house. Now, look, if you don't need the proceeds from the sale of your home to purchase another home, then have at it. Like, we can go look at as many properties as you want and get a property under contract and closed before we list your property for sale. And there's no stress in that situation. But unfortunately, that's typically not the case. Typically, people need the proceeds from the sale of their home to purchase another property. It's typically the way it works out. So in that scenario, when's the right time to start looking at properties? Well, I'm dealing with this right now with my in-laws. And the right time is not months, 4 months or 5 months before your house is ready to be listed for sale. Okay, so it is December 2025. We're going to be listing their house for sale up on Lake Anna here in Central Virginia in probably April, May timeframe. So my mother-in-law wants to start looking at properties right now. Well, when is that appropriate and when is it not appropriate? If there's some vacant properties, I think it's entirely appropriate to go look at some properties now. I think it's more appropriate to start driving through some neighborhoods, identifying some areas and some locations that you really want to focus on. But asking homeowners to get out of their home, get their house ready, get out of the home when you are nowhere near ready to buy, I don't think that's a great idea. And that's what I advise my mother-in-law to do. We're also looking at new construction. So that's entirely a different scenario as well. We can start looking at those right now. We can even write contracts on new construction right now. Of course, they would be contingent upon the sale of her property, but a lot of builders will accept that even though we're, looking at, 4 or 5 months down the road. The more appropriate thing to do, in my opinion, is as we get closer to having their house ready. Let's just say hypothetically, because they're doing the painting and all the things right now on their property. So let's say mid-February, early March, their house is ready, right? Their house is ready to go. So we could pull the trigger on that if need be. Then it's entirely appropriate to go looking at some properties. And most of the properties that are listed for sale right now in December of 2025 are not going to be, they'll be sold and closed in March, April of 2026. So we'll start looking for properties when their house is ready to go. So when we find the property, we can still write an offer contingent upon the sale of their property, but then we go and list their property. Okay. Now let's talk about worst case scenarios. One of the worst case scenarios would be that their house is sold, my in-laws' house in this example, is sold and they haven't found a property yet to buy, okay? One of the things that you can do is negotiate in that purchase contract a rent back. So a period of time where my in-laws in this case they'd close on, the new buyers of their home we'd close on that transaction, but essentially a lease would be put in place where my in-laws, who no longer own the home, would stay on for a period of time renting that property back from the buyers, and you negotiate an appropriate rental amount on all that good stuff. In this particular example, it would probably work out even better because it's a second home market up there and people are going to want that income, right? So it's somewhat situational. So that's one of the worst case scenarios. We rent back for a period of time, several months, until they're able to find something appropriate for them to buy. Worst case scenario would be if they don't find something in the time that they receive an offer, an appropriate offer that they agree with, and they close on their property and they don't have any place to go. By the way, it's so rare that this happens. It just tends to work out. I don't know why, it just does, because everybody's working hard, everybody's looking. But if that happens, having a backup plan is good to have. And in this example, our backup plan is they're going to come and live with us, right? And we're going to store their furniture. Now, it's not ideal, I know, but that's worst case scenario. In most cases, it's going to work out. But that is really when you should start looking for homes to buy before your house is listed for sale.